Welcome back in. We're here for another episode of Where the Game Lives On, the official podcast of the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. I'm your host, Noah Tucker. I'm joined by my co-host, Byron Shive. We're back in studio for today's episode, which is how we like it, but a good episode last week with Rogersville alum Seth Connor. If you haven't listened to it, go give it a listen. You'll learn about dessert pizza.
Dessert barbecue.
Or dessert barbecue, my bad, not dessert pizza. But we're back in studio, looking forward to it. Thanks for joining us. I feel like we've been on the grind a little bit. We've been getting ready for an upcoming event here on November 19th, our enshrinement in St. Louis.
Sunday, actually.
Yeah. It's upon us.
Crazy because when we first started talking about it, I knew it was the Sunday before Thanksgiving, but that was like way off in the future. And Thanksgiving's a week from tomorrow.
Yeah. Wait, what? So yeah, we're excited though. It's always, it's kind of the pinnacle of what we do, right? Getting to honor, a lot of big names in Missouri sports, whether it be individuals or teams or programs. A lot of big names in this induction class. Adam Wainwright, Todd Lyght, a former St. Louis Ram, Kenny Wallace, a NASCAR driver, Barrett Jackman of the Blues, Jay Delsing. That's just to name a few. A lot of very, very deserving people in this class, and that's always exciting. We've had the chance to obviously get in contact with a lot of these people. We saw several of them at the announcement of this induction class. I'm curious, who are you looking forward to hearing from during the enshrinement ceremonies?
Well, obviously, I'm excited to induct all of them. In terms of who I'm excited to hear from, Kenny Wallace, I've gotten to know him since, I spoke to him for the first time when I told him he was being inducted, and he was blown away excited. He just talked about how big of a deal it was, just on the phone. He comes to the press conference, and he is, if you're on social media, Kenny Wallace is all over social media, Coffee with Kenny, and I've started following him since we spoke, and he's just funny. He's entertaining. So I'm excited to hear what he has to say. I'm not sure if we can keep him under 3 minutes, but he'll be good. Also, Bernie Miklas, who's a longtime sports commentator, sports writer in the St. Louis area. He was at the press conference as well, had a very enlightening remarks when he stepped to the podium to acknowledge, thank yous and stuff at the press conference, and just referenced how important it was to recognize the quote unquote little guy. It's not just the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame is not just for the St. Louis Cardinals and Kansas City Chiefs and the professional athletes, but it's for anyone who's made, significant contributions in sports. And so I haven't gone to many enshrinements over the years, growing up, for the last 20 plus years going to enshrinements and hearing speeches. It seems like always it's the high school coaches always at the end of the night, where, oh, that was a good speech, or that was, but it's usually the high school coaches because I don't know, you can tell that it really means it's the pinnacle of their career. And so, I'm excited to hear from everyone, but those two kind of jump out. Lindsay Kennedy Eversmeyer is another one. I did not realize it. I called her to tell her she was being inducted. She said, "Let me call you back." She called me back not too long later, and she made the comment that she was leaving the hospital or something like that. Didn't think anything of it. I didn't start asking, hey, why were you, that type of stuff. Yeah. But come to find out at the press conference, right after the press conference, found out that she was leaving the hospital because her dad was on his final moments, and she got to whisper, he was, I guess, unconscious, and she got to whisper to him that she was being inducted, and there was some acknowledgement, and so didn't realize that, but that certainly means a lot to her and her family, and so look forward to hearing from her as well.
A very cool story to hear from her, that she was able to relay that to him. Obviously she was a big figure piece in the St. Louis area and women's soccer. She even played soccer she even played professionally in men's arena, or indoor, I guess what they call it.
Currently coaching a men's college team in Illinois as well.
That's correct. I think my answer was going to be Bernie as well. Obviously a longtime reporter in the St. Louis area, covered a ton of St. Louis Cardinals, but a lot of things, professional sports, college in the area. I agree. His remarks were very profound in terms of what the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame is about.
Yeah.
Obviously, it is cool to kind of meet all of them. Everyone has a different background and a different viewpoint from their induction ceremony. But it is exciting. If you're not able to attend, you mentioned Kenny Wallace. We're gonna get him on the podcast. He is a guy, and he's been great to work with because he's willing to get us whatever we need. And he not only was he a longtime driver, much like his brother, but has made it into the personality world of the NASCAR.
Actually, still racing.
Stuff.
He's going to be in Springfield area this weekend. Matter of fact, he's racing at Springfield Speedway Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and he has to be done by a certain time on Saturday so he can head back to St. Louis and be inducted on Sunday. But he's actually going to be here in the Ozarks racing this weekend.
Yeah, check that out if you haven't heard about it. It is the Turkey Bowl, hosted at Springfield Raceway, and you're right, he does still do quite a bit of that stuff. I was mentioning, these enshrinement ceremonies, they're very, very, very cool for our perspective, what we get to see, and these people are so appreciative just to get the recognition and have the honor of being inducted. What is that day kind of like for you? You have more, interaction with the inductees than any of us.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because I have the initial interaction. I get the privilege of making the phone call, and that's obviously really, really cool to not just call, the former athletic director or the old retired ball coach or whatever, but the professional athletes and stuff. That's always fun and getting their, excitement and stuff. And so that's pretty cool. But once the initial announcement is made and then we have the press conference, I'll meet them there. The sales folks, our staff is kind of who deals with them on a daily basis between then and the actual enshrinement. So for the most part, I've not spoken with any of them since the press conference. And so, I'll see them again on the day of, and it's kind of people ask me if I get nervous because you're, standing in front of a crowd, and most people, I guess, don't like being in front of large crowds. I think it was Jerry Seinfeld once said that there was a survey of people's greatest fears, and number 2 was dying, and number 1 was standing in front of a crowd. And so he was like, so if you're at a funeral, you'd rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. But I don't really, it doesn't bother me being in front of the crowd. So that's not the issue. To be honest with you, this is kind of funny, I guess. But, and I learned this the hard way at the first enshrinement I did. They can be long. They're 3 hours plus. I drank water all morning the first enshrinement I did, and it was, I can't leave the stage. So it was, there was some awkward moments after the enshrinement because I was making a beeline for the restroom. There were people trying to, hey, stop and say, hey, nice event. Now you're trying to be nice, but you're also trying not to pee your pants. So. But no, I've learned my lesson on that. But it just flows. I mean, it's not really. It's kind of, once you get into it, you're just kind of moving down the line. And I've got a stack of the plaques that are kind of stacked in order. And so I can see the stack start dwindling, and, it's just kind of, I don't know, it's just a fun day. So absolutely.
We'll keep it rolling here. We want to remind you, the helmet raffle is still continuing through the end of this month. We will draw the winner for the Kansas City Chiefs helmet on December 1st. If you're watching on YouTube, you don't see the helmet on our set right now, and that is because it has kind of been making a trip around the Springfield area to various locations, several organizations that we've partnered up with just to show that thing off, allow a lot of people to see it, and it's kind of been making some trips. It will be with us in St. Louis, but as always, links to that helmet raffle will be in the bio of the podcast description.
Somebody's going to get some great odds. We are not selling, our max was 2,000 chances, and we're not going to get there. And so the odds are really, really good. This is a pretty cool piece of memorabilia and really good odds at $25 a chance. So.
Absolutely. We're excited to do it and hopefully make somebody's day, make somebody's Christmas season by raffling away this helmet. So we'll see. December 1st, stay tuned. Don't miss your chance to buy it. It'll be here before you know it. We will keep it rolling, though, with our sports news. The first thing I thought was worth mentioning is Mizzou football. We didn't talk about them on last week's episode because we had a guest in-house, but they had a loss to Georgia in Athens. A little bit of, expected to some degree, but that game was close.
That was the unexpected part for most people. When I say people, mostly national figures.
Non-Mizzou
they thought it was going to be a blowout. And Mizzou, like I going into that game, I think I said that if all the teams on Georgia's schedule, Mizzou has played them as well as anybody in the last decade. And so they went down to Athens, had nothing to lose. They weren't supposed to win, and they went down and played. They actually were leading the game at one point, so had some breaks go against them. And but they certainly gained some respect. A lot of people that were, kind of blaming Mizzou's record on their schedule and things of that nature. They're just not that good. Wait till that. Well, they've seen. So they came back home and blew out Tennessee, which supposedly was good. So
yeah, my brother was at that game. He said that Mizzou looked just very polished. They played clean football, and that was the follow up to that loss. Is a good win against a solid Tennessee squad.
You wish you could go back and get another chance at LSU. That was at home. That was a tough loss, but it's still 2 losses. They're looking pretty good for be playing in January. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously the SEC will have a team in the playoff. They're the most likely conference to have 2. So I think it comes into question at this point. We're coming down the stretch of the college football season.
Are they?
Yeah. but can
Washington and Oregon? I don't know.
I don't know. I guess, you have a good point. The Pac-12 just always seems to get the short end of the stick,
Yeah, I'm kidding. There's no way that the SEC, of course, has the best chance. So.
But can Mizzou still swing a New Year's 6?
I think so. I think I saw some projections. Now, obviously, those are projections and made to go wrong probably, but there was probably 10 to 12 national writers that were kind of projecting out the bowls at this point in the season. This is after the Tennessee game. And if I'm not mistaken, all of them had Missouri playing in a New Year's Six bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl. They were mentioned. I don't know if Fiesta was one of them, but they were mentioned in playing teams like Texas. That have had some matchups against some big teams. So
yeah, it'll be interesting. I think that it's a realistic chance to, when you have a lost LSU who is. They're a good team, and then you have a loss to Georgia. You're definitely not, you're definitely competing with the best, and you're in those games. There's no doubt that they're a top 12, top 15
LSU
team.
Quarterback Jaden Daniels probably may have won the Heisman last weekend. They played Florida, and he had like 380 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and then he ran for like 250 and 3 scores or 2 scores. So he put on a show. He's obviously their offense is video game-esque. So
yeah. You mentioned something though from Coach Drinkwitz, talking about the effect of the success on their recruiting, what he's kind of seeing.
Yeah, and it was, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically was saying that they've reached the point in recruiting where they don't have to go seeking out the best kids. That they've reached the point where they have the opportunity to be selective and say, thank you for your interest, but so that's a pretty bold statement, and that's a level you want to get to if you're a college football program. So.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that it goes into just building the team around your mantra. There's guys that fit your system, guys that don't fit your system. You can find good athletes anywhere. Everybody has good athletes, but sometimes it comes down to you have to get the guys that are going to play your
You can go
game.
To Truman State and find them, apparently.
Oh,
Cody Schrader.
Is that not one of the coolest
awesome.
stories? That's Missouri for you right there.
Absolutely.
So and he's had a tremendous season, and we want to talk about the Mizzou passing game all the time, but they have good balance. They really do.
He had a heck of a game. He should have. They've given away co-SEC Offensive Player of the Week multiple times this year, and they should have done it this. I mean, Jaden Daniels, we just mentioned, obviously deserving, but I think you could have slipped a co and given it to Cody Schrader as well. But
I like that. We haven't caught up on the high school football, but we are already. It's very quick. We're already in the state quarterfinals. gosh, there's just been a lot of, teams that have been expected. Webb City's still playing, Nix is still playing, but then you got some teams like Lee Summit North who I guess you would call it an upset. They got beat. I don't know. It's coming down the stretch. Lebanon got beat as well. So you had
CBC and I think Francis Howell in the St. Louis area was a huge matchup in Class 6. Went down toward the end. CBC pulled that one out, which, I mean, they've got a few losses if you look at their record, but I mean, they've been all over the country to open the season, flying here, there, and everywhere else to play a national schedule to start out with. So they're obviously really good. The Lee Summit North game, I mean, everyone I think was kind of looking forward to Nixa and Lee Summit North, and Rockhurst had something to say about that, and so now Nixa gets to go up and play Rockhurst, and that should be a ball game. Obviously, Rockhurst program is very, very good and has been for a very long time. And so
absolutely inductees of the Hall of Fame there at the Rockhurst football
last
program.
Year. That's right.
Yep.
So
there's DeSmet has looked very solid. They have really the whole year. I think their only loss is maybe to Edwardsville,
a team across the state line.
Yeah, a team outside of the state. In Class 5, Cardinal Ritter is still going. They obviously, I think, are maybe the favorite.
Lutheran North they've probably got two of the most impressive wins. They went down to Blair Oaks and beat Blair Oaks in the Jeff City area earlier in the season, and then went back up and beat Francis Howell in back-to-back weeks. So that's probably as good a back-to-back wins of anybody in the state. But they're on a run. I'm excited to see. I'm not rooting for anyone or against anyone, but Lamar and Fair Grove are on opposite sides of the bracket this year. Fair Grove has never been able to make a run because they always had to face Lamar in districts or sectional or whatever, and so they're on opposite sides of the bracket and on a collision course. So
we'll see.
Yeah,
we will see. This is the point in the playoffs where it gets interesting. Every single one of these teams is a solid team. They've had that special season, and now it's just how do you match up? How do you execute? Anybody can beat anybody, but the better team is usually who's going to come out on top. So we'll keep a close eye on that, and we'll be mentioning it here in our upcoming episodes. We wanted to chat about this a little bit. We won't spend too much time on it. It's not Missouri sports, but getting back on the topic of college football. College football playoff, right? And I think what makes it interesting is there's only 4 teams this year still, but Michigan is facing I don't know if you could say it's the least college football could do or the most they could do, but they've decided to suspend Harbaugh until the investigation is over.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, it's, first of all, let's just throw it out there. All schools are cheating, or not cheating. They're trying to decipher signals.
Sign stealing is a part of the game.
Yes, I mean that's gamesmanship. It has been forever, and if you're not trying to figure out what the other team's doing, then shame on you. But allegations, of course, Michigan took it to another level where they were actually actively buying tickets to future opponents' games and sitting in the stands and pulling out iPhones and recording signals. And apparently this guy, this Connor Stallions or whatever, was a former, Navy analyst, intelligence, something, whatever. And it's like a plot of a B movie or something. But anyway, I don't understand the punishment, I guess. I mean, I do think that there should be some consequences. Okay, you suspended their coach. That's the second time this season that he's been suspended for Michigan's mishaps, quote unquote. So I don't know. I'm not saying that. I don't know that that's the best if that's the only punishment there is, then you're going to have a whole lot of teams that are sending guys to away games or future opponents, because that's not even a slap on the wrist, really. So
yeah, it's I don't know how I can make out the whole situation. It's worth noting that there's an appeal this coming Friday of the suspension. I want to be I want to be very diligent in how I speak about this, but there was a situation in the Springfield area where it was regarding a player's eligibility, and we saw a similar process where there was a possible ineligible player, and then the appeal led to he can play until the investigation's over. I didn't like the comments I heard from Harbaugh once he finally spoke about the suspension. But in part, it did make sense where he said, I just want due process and I want to be innocent until proven guilty. It's tough in the day of social media where you start seeing all this stuff. And is this real? Is this a made up photo? Was this guy here? Is this really him? You know,
as an attorney, yes, I 100% agree. Due process, the legal channels, temporary restraining order. I'm surprised I didn't hear it prior to the game on Saturday. I think there's supposed to be a hearing on Friday to determine whether there's a temporary restraining order, which, if granted, would allow Harbaugh to coach this weekend. Obviously, the league's going to appeal if that, so you're in that legal process. 100% agree, due process. Unfortunately, the court of public opinion does not have due process, aka social media. You're either, if you have a scarlet and gray background, then he's guilty. If you're maize and blue, then innocent and whatever. But court of public opinion, social media, you're going to get tried in the and that, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. But
yeah, he went to the lengths of saying that Michigan going through this process is essentially America's team now, because everybody likes the underdog and everybody likes to see I was surprised. I was like, man, you really had an opportunity here to make this about the team and about the guys overcoming adversity, and you guys aren't going to get caught up in all this. They're going to focus on playing the games. And I don't think he went about it that way,
but that's Jim Harbaugh. It's just kind of his personality. He's just kind of not brash is not the word, but I'm not thinking of the right word. He's just very, in your face kind of.
Yeah. And I'm not going to speak for the people on whether they're rooting for Michigan at this point or they're not. Obviously, yes, sign stealing is a part of the game. I think that everybody tries to do, in baseball, if you were on second base and they weren't giving multiple signs to the pitcher, you were trying to relay, hey, here's
if you can't hear a trash can banging in the dugout, then, I mean.
I'll tell you, though, who does not want to see Michigan succeed is the College Football Playoff Committee. They are going to be so livid if they're stuck in the corner where Michigan wins out, beats Ohio State.
Well, here's the scenario. So Michigan beats Ohio State. And then so Michigan makes the playoff, and they get matched up against undefeated Florida State, and now Florida State becomes America's team.
There you go. There you go. That's a good way to look at it as a Seminole fan. Fan. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. I mean, it's just.
I don't know if that's the only punishment that the Big Ten plans on handing out. Then you might as well just save your breath, because a slap on the wrist, 3-game suspension, and then he gets to come back and coach the playoff. Is that what you're? It's a joke.
Yeah, it's not the best look.
I mean, you've got to take, the only way you're going to send a message is it's financial or recruiting. You got to take scholarships away. You got to limit off-campus recruiting or something to that effect, to where they're going to feel the effects. I don't think that it's right that necessarily that. Well, I don't know. I won't even say that. I started to say that to punish the players. They didn't do anything wrong, but the team benefited, so I guess I don't know.
Yeah, they're just a part of the program. They just do what they're told.
Allegedly,
they're just kids.
Allegedly.
Well, yeah, and that's the word we keep going back to, right? So we'll see. I'm going to disagree with Harbaugh and say most people are probably not rooting for Michigan.
If you weren't already maize and blue, hail to the victors, then I don't know that they gained fans with this.
No. Well, we'll roll on to our question of the day. A little something less serious. A question that we discussed that we thought might generate some good interaction here was. Obviously, when you're growing up, everybody has the dream of being a professional athlete, and you probably want to play your favorite sport or maybe what you're best at. But as an adult, you kind of have a different perspective, perhaps. If you were to play a professional sport, we can maybe focus on the position. What position would you pick as a career?
So I can't pick head coach of Michigan football, I guess.
You could. Feel free.
No. Obviously, growing up, wanted to be professional football player. I wanted to, be an athlete, whatever. That ended pretty early in high school when I realized that's not happening at all. But this is easy for me as an adult looking at what professional sport, athlete, whatever. Without question, I'd want to be a professional golfer. Without question. Can you imagine just getting to fly all over the world, play the best courses in the world. You're playing Augusta, you're playing, the old course at St. Andrews and Pebble Beach and all these places. Plus you're getting access to places like Seminole and Florida and Cypress Point, that because you're a professional golfer and you're making connections, and then the money's really, really good as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would, without question, would be a professional golfer.
Yeah.
If I had to pick a different, then I've said it on this podcast in the past, the best job in sports is backup quarterback in the NFL.
Backup QB. Yeah, that's not bad. I, growing up, I was a big baseball guy. I was a catcher. And to have the thought of catching 140, 120 games in the summer heat.
I dropped a screw a while ago and bent down to pick it up and about died my knees. I can't imagine.
Yeah, it would definitely not be. It would not be the gig to have. I like the golf answer. The thing with golf, though, is you got to perform to get paid. Aside from your revenue.
Whatever. I'm throwing those Happy Gilmore checks in the back seat, man. Those things add up. So
what I love about golf too is you're essentially competing against yourself, right? Mm-hmm. You're always playing against the field, but you're not physically, opposing another person per se. It's you and the ball and the hole that you're on. I think though, my answer would probably have to be an NFL kicker. Mm-hmm. It's not physically demanding. You're going to be able to, some of those guys do it till they're 40, 42.
Yeah. If they're also
if they're good. Yeah.
They're the GOAT too.
Yeah. But here's
goat,
the thing.
They're the scapegoat or the GOAT, one or the other.
Yeah. Here's the thing. And this is partial by me in my experience playing football. Your kickers usually aren't super competitive people. They're not bred in competition. Again, they're just kicking the ball. They're not really going up against other people. I think what I would like about it, though, is as an athlete, I always liked those clutch moments where it's like the pressure's on. I've got to execute here. It's on me. And I think it would be really cool as a kicker to have those opportunities to go kick the game-winning field goal or go.
Well, you could also wind up being Ray Finkel from Ace Ventura as well.
Laces out.
Yes, laces out, man. But Scott Norwood, I'm sure he had an outstanding college kicking career, had a solid professional career, but you mentioned the name Scott Norwood, especially in Western New York, and he's the one that missed the field goal to win the Super Bowl against the Giants way back in like 1990. And I remember that now. I know his name because he missed the field goal. Now, on the flip side, you've got Adam Vinatieri, who Tom Brady needs to thank profusely for giving him 3 or 4 Super Bowls, because without Vinatieri, he didn't win them. But anyway.
That would be my pick. Backup quarterback. Yeah, man, the thing about backup QB is there's so many few elite QBs in the league, and so few backups have the privilege of being in a certain place for a long period of time. Mm-hmm. That would be the tough thing about being a backup, is you almost by default become a journeyman. You become a Chase Daniel of sorts, even if you're like that, right? You're a guy that can execute when needed. The offense. You're well liked by everybody. He still spent a lot of time
Chase
jumping
Daniel, around. I mean, he was back up for 13, 14 years, made really good money, and went seamlessly right from he's doing analyst work now. Yeah. I mean, he's stepped right into it. So he's doing a great job with that. So you're right. I mean, backup quarterbacks, I'm familiar with them because as a Colts, I root for the Colts, and Minshew mania. I'm not even sure if you can call it mania. It's more like maniac right now, but
they got the win. They got the win on Sunday morning against the Patriots though.
But, backup quarterbacks, good. Kickers, good. Trying to think if there's anything else like basketball. I'm not really.
Yeah, it's a lot of stress, a lot of strain on the body. Yeah. Maybe this isn't a professional sport, but with some of the contracts these analysts are signing nowadays, that probably wouldn't be too bad of a gig either. Pat McAfee getting $10 million a year.
I want to change my answer. It's a professional sport. I want to be Nathan's hot dog eating contest.
Yeah. See, where's that money come from though?
I don't know.
It's all the brand deals.
How in the world are you dipping a hot dog? I don't know how we got on this topic. A hot dog and bun in water and just throwing it down 70 times in 5 minutes. Anyway,
well,
I'm sticking with professional golfer.
Fair enough. We're not picking any stressful sports on the body. We're going the easy route for sure. We're going to be career athletes of backup QBs and professional golfers. So we've come to the end of our time. We appreciate you joining us as always. If you take time out of your day to listen to our latest episode. We're breaking down everything in Missouri sports as usual. Be sure to follow us on social media. We've got everything going on from the Enshrinement upcoming to the helmet raffle giveaway at the beginning of December. You can stay tuned with all that, and we'll have new episodes for you every Wednesday where you get your podcasts, Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can also listen and watch on our YouTube channel. Links for all of those are down in the bio. Byron?
I will see everybody in St. Louis.
We will, and we'll have a recap of that when you join us next time on another episode of Where the Game Lives On.